The clock on my dashboard read 11:47 p.m. when I finally pulled into our driveway. Another 16-hour day at the consulting firm, another client crisis that somehow became my emergency. I sat in the car for a moment, letting the engine tick as it cooled, watching the warm glow spilling from our dining room windows. Sarah's monthly girls' night was still going strong. I grabbed my laptop bag and trudged toward the back door, fishing for my keys. The plan was simple: grab a beer from the kitchen, maybe say a quick hello to the ladies, then disappear upstairs to collapse. Sarah always got a little louder with her wine, and her friends matched her energy drink for drink. The back door opened silently. I'd oiled those hinges last weekend. I stepped into the kitchen, setting my bag down carefully on the counter. The refrigerator hummed, ice clinked in glasses, and then I heard my name. Honestly, Tom is just so predictable. He has no idea. I froze with my hand on the refrigerator handle. Sarah's voice carried clearly from the dining room, that familiar laugh threading through her words. Last Tuesday I told him I was working late on the Henderson account, and he actually said, "Drive safe, honey," when I left to meet David at the hotel. Another laugh, sharper this time. It's almost too easy. The blood drained from my face. I stood perfectly still, trying to process what I'd just heard. David. The name hit me like a physical blow. Wait, David from your office? Jennifer's voice cut through the laughter. Sarah's college roommate? Always the one to ask the probing questions. The very same. Sarah's voice held a pride that made my stomach turn. 6 months now. He's everything Tom isn't. Spontaneous, exciting, dangerous. When he texts me, I actually feel something, you know? Not like when Tom kisses me goodnight while I'm reading work emails from David on my phone. The women erupted in laughter. I heard the clink of wine glasses, someone refilling drinks. My wife was describing my marriage like it was a comedy routine. But how do you keep it secret? This voice I didn't recognize. Must be Kelly, Sarah's new friend from yoga class. Her tone was curious, almost admiring. Tom? Sarah's laughter was loud enough to make me wince. Tom notices spreadsheets and server configurations. He couldn't find a clue if it was highlighted in his project management software. Last week, I came home from the Marriott still smelling like David's cologne, and Tom just asked if I wanted to order Thai food. My legs felt weak. I leaned against the kitchen counter, my mind racing. 6 months. She'd been lying to my face for 6 months. The best part is that Tom is so safe, so reliable, so utterly predictable that he'd never even think to question me. He trusts me completely. It's actually kind of pathetic. The laughter that followed felt like knives. My phone. Without thinking, I pulled it from my pocket and opened the voice recorder app. My hands were shaking, but I managed to hit record. I swear, sometimes I think he's more in love with his work than with me anyway. Sarah's voice continued, slurred from wine. Makes it easier to justify, you know. If he paid half as much attention to me as he does to his clients, maybe I wouldn't need to find it somewhere else. That's not fair, Sarah. Jennifer's voice carried a note of concern, the first hint of conscience I'd heard from any of them. Tom's a good guy. Exactly. He's good. He's safe. He's boring. Sarah's words cut through Jennifer's weak defense. David makes me feel alive again. When he looks at me, I feel like I'm 25 again, not some suburban housewife married to a man who schedules our date nights in his calendar app. I crept closer to the dining room, staying in the shadows. I could see them now. Sarah gesturing with her wine glass, her face flushed and animated. So what's the plan? Kelly leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Are you going to leave, Tom? God, no! Sarah's response was immediate and firm. Tom's got the house, the savings, the stability. David is fun, but he's not divorce material. This is perfect as it is. I get excitement on the side and security at home. The casual cruelty hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't even a person to her anymore. I was a resource. Besides, Sarah added with a sly smile in her voice, the prenup Tom insisted on would leave me with nothing if I cheated. Little did he know I'm not the gold digger type. I'm the have my cake and eat it too type. More laughter. I stared at my phone's screen. 7 minutes and counting. "You're terrible," Jennifer said, but her tone was amused rather than disapproving. "Poor Tom." "Poor Tom, nothing." Sarah's voice turned defensive, sharp. "He's getting exactly what he signed up for. A wife who keeps house, looks good at company events, and doesn't ask too many questions. If he wanted passion, he should have married someone else." I'd heard enough. I ended the recording and slipped back through the kitchen, my heart pounding. I grabbed my laptop bag and headed for the garage. The garage was dark and cool. I sat in my car, staring at the phone in my trembling hands. 8 minutes and 17 seconds. 8 minutes that had just destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. I played it back, listening to my wife's voice describe our marriage like it was a joke. Hearing her friends laugh at my trust like it was a character flaw. David. 6 months. The Marriott. The prenup. I sat in the darkness, playing the recording over and over, each word carving deeper into my chest. But somewhere beneath the pain, something else was growing. Something cold and calculating. Sarah thought I was predictable. She thought I was safe. She thought I was too naive to ever figure out what she was doing. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. as usual. Sarah was still asleep, her face peaceful in the early light. I watched her for a moment, this woman I'd shared a bed with for 10 years, and felt nothing but cold detachment. I went through my morning routine mechanically. When Sarah stumbled downstairs in her robe, I kissed her forehead and asked how girls' night went. "Oh, you know how it is." She poured herself coffee, not meeting my eyes. "Just catching up. Venting about work stuff." The lie came so easily, I nodded sympathetically and told her I'd be working late again. "I'll probably grab dinner with the team. Don't wait up." "Okay, honey, I might have to work late too, actually." She sipped her coffee, still not looking at me. "The Henderson account is heating up again." I almost laughed. Instead, I kissed her goodbye and headed to the office, my mind already working through what I needed to do. The first step was confirming what I'd heard. I had access to our family phone plan through my work account. It took me less than 10 minutes to pull up 6 months of call and text logs. The pattern was obvious once I knew what to look for. Starting in January, Sarah's phone showed regular communication with a number I didn't recognize. I cross-referenced it with our company directory. David Chen, Regional Manager, Sales Division. Next, I checked our shared location app. Sarah's phone showed a troubling pattern. Every Tuesday for the past month, her location pinged at the downtown Marriott during work hours. The timestamps matched perfectly with her client meetings. By lunch, I had a timeline. By end of day, I had a plan. I called my lawyer first. "I need to understand the infidelity clause in our prenup, what constitutes proof, and what the consequences would be." "The clause is ironclad," David Brennan said carefully. "If either party commits adultery, they forfeit all rights to marital property. But you'd need substantial proof, documentation, photos, hotel records, multiple witnesses." I thanked him and hung up. Then I called the private investigator he'd recommended. Rita Valdez, a former police detective who specialized in infidelity cases. "I need documentation," I told her when we met that evening. "Complete, court-ready documentation." Rita listened to my recording without comment, then reviewed the evidence I'd compiled. "This is good work," she said finally. "You've got the timeline, the patterns, the communication records. I can fill in the gaps. Hotel records, workplace surveillance, photographic evidence." She quoted me a price that would have made me wince a month ago. Now it seemed like a bargain. "I'll need 2 weeks, maybe 3, and I'll need you to maintain normal routines. No changes in behavior, no confrontations." The next 2 weeks were surreal. I went to work, came home, made conversation with my wife about our respective days. We watched Netflix together, went grocery shopping, had dinner with friends. Sarah complained about David being demanding at work. The irony wasn't lost on me. Meanwhile, Rita's reports arrived daily. Hotel security footage showing Sarah and David entering and leaving together. Credit card records showing lunches at romantic restaurants. Workplace colleagues confirming their suspicious behavior during business meetings. The most damning evidence came from social media. Rita had found David's Facebook profile and traced his activity. He'd been married for 8 years, had 2 young children, and according to his wife's posts, traveled frequently for regional conferences that aligned perfectly with Sarah's late nights. "He's done this before," Rita told me during one of our evening meetings. "I found records of a previous affair 3 years ago. His wife Linda took him back, but she's been posting passive-aggressive comments about trust ever since." "Does she know about Sarah?" "Not yet, but she suspects something." I stared at the photos Rita had spread across the table. My wife laughing with another man. My wife kissing another man. My wife walking into a hotel with another man while I was at home, wondering why she seemed distant. "There's something else," Rita continued. "They've been using the same room for months. Room 237. Always Tuesday afternoons, always for exactly 3 hours. The methodical nature of it somehow made it worse. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated, ongoing deception with schedules and patterns." "I have everything you need," Rita said. "What do you want to do with it?" I gathered the photos and documents into a neat folder. "I want to destroy them both, completely, simultaneously, and I want them to know it was me." Rita smiled for the first time since I'd met her. "Now you're talking my language." The plan we developed was elegant in its simplicity. I would confront Sarah on our anniversary, exactly 1 month from the night I'd overheard her confession. The same night, Linda would receive an anonymous package containing proof of her husband's affair. But it didn't take blood. It was the weekend after we confessed. "The key is simultaneous destruction," Rita explained. "If you take them down one at a time, the survivor can prepare. But if you hit them both at once, they're too busy dealing with their own damage to help each other." I spent the weekend reviewing everything. The evidence was overwhelming. Photos, recordings, hotel records, witness testimony. Under our prenup, Sarah would lose everything. On Sunday night, I made dinner reservations at Chez Laurent, the French restaurant where I'd proposed to Sarah 10 years ago. The same corner table where she'd said yes with tears in her eyes. It seemed like the perfect place to end what had started there. The reservation was for 7:00 p.m. on Friday, exactly 10 years to the day since I'd proposed to Sarah at Chez Laurent. I'd told her it was a surprise celebration of our anniversary, and she'd seemed genuinely excited, the kind of excitement that would have warmed my heart a month ago. Now it just felt like another lie in a marriage built on deception. I spent the week making final preparations. The lawyer had reviewed everything and confirmed that the evidence package would void our prenup and protect me from litigation. Rita had compiled 2 identical folders, one for Sarah, one for David's wife, Linda. The coordination with Linda had been delicate. Rita had made initial contact through an encrypted email, explaining that I was the husband of the woman having an affair with her husband. The response had been immediate and heartbreaking. "I knew something was wrong," Linda had written back. "David has been different for months. Secretive, distant, always working late. I found a hotel keycard in his pocket last month. We'd arranged to meet at a coffee shop near her kids' school. Linda was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with tired eyes and nervous energy. I just need to know." Her hands shook as she held her coffee. "I need to know if I'm crazy or if my instincts are right." I'd shown her one photo, Sarah and David entering the Marriott together. Linda had stared at it for a long moment, then started crying. "I'm sorry," I'd said, and meant it. "No." She wiped her eyes, voice stronger now. "I'm glad someone finally told me the truth." We'd agreed that she would receive her evidence package at exactly 6:00 p.m. on Friday, 1 hour before my dinner with Sarah. That would give her time to process everything and confront David before he could coordinate with Sarah. "I want him to suffer," Linda had said. "I want him to lose everything, just like I'm about to lose everything." I understood the feeling completely. Friday morning, I went for a run to calm my nerves. Today was the day I'd been planning for 3 weeks. Today, 2 marriages would end and 2 cheaters would face consequences. Sarah was making coffee when I returned, smiling in her silk robe. "Someone's up early," she said, kissing my cheek. "Excited about tonight?" "You could say that." I toweled off my face. I'd been looking forward to this for weeks. Me too. It's been too long since we had a proper date night. She paused, studying my face. You seem different lately. More focused. I felt a chill of panic. Had I been too obvious? Just work stuff, I said casually. The Peterson account is finally wrapping up. She accepted the explanation with a nod. Tonight should be fun, just the two of us. No distractions. No distractions. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so painful. At 3:00 p.m., I sent the final text to Rita. Green light for tonight. Proceed as planned. Her response was immediate. Package delivered to Linda at 6:00 p.m. I'll be nearby if you need backup. At 5:30, I drove home to change. Sarah was applying makeup at her vanity, wearing a black dress I'd bought her last Christmas. Terse, chattering dicks dodged, twisted as a bull. You look beautiful, I said, and meant it despite everything. Ed, thank you. She smiled at me in the mirror, the same smile that had once made my heart race. The drive to the restaurant was quiet. Sarah held my hand and chatted about mundane things while I focused on driving. My phone buzzed once. A text from Rita confirming that Linda had received her package and was handling it as discussed. David's world was ending right now, and he had no idea. Chaise Laurent looked exactly as I remembered. The same intimate lighting, the same corner table where I'd proposed. The hostess seated us with a smile and congratulated us on our anniversary. 10 years, Sarah said, raising her wine glass. Here's to 10 more. I clinked my glass against hers. To truth. She laughed, oblivious to the weight of my words. That's an odd toast, but I'll take it. We ordered dinner and made small talk. Sarah seemed relaxed and happy, occasionally reaching across the table to touch my hand. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was genuinely enjoying our anniversary dinner. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. It's Linda, confronting him now. Thank you for giving me the strength to do this. I excused myself to use the restroom and called Rita. How's it going? Perfect timing. Are you ready? I'm in the parking lot. The second package is in my car. Whenever you're ready. I returned to the table as our entrees arrived. Sarah was cutting into her salmon, describing a funny incident with a client. She looked beautiful and animated and completely unaware that her world was about to collapse. Sarah, I said, pulling the manila envelope from my jacket pocket. I have something for you. She looked up, curious. What is it? Open it. She set down her fork and opened the envelope. Her face went through confusion, recognition, and finally, horror. The first photo showed her and David entering the Marriott. The second showed them kissing in the elevator. The third showed them leaving 3 hours later, her hair disheveled. Tom, she whispered, her face going pale. I can... Keep looking, I said calmly. The rest was devastating. Hotel records, credit card statements, screenshots of text messages. But the worst part was the transcript of that first night. The recording of her laughing about how easy it was to deceive me. Sarah's hands shook as she read her own words. Around us, other diners continued their meals, unaware that a marriage was disintegrating at table 12. How did you... she started. I came home early that night, I said, cutting her off. I heard everything. She looked up at me, tears streaming. Tom, please. I can explain. No need, I said, taking a sip of wine. It's all very clear. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went even paler. It's David, having the same conversation with his wife right now, I finished. Linda received an identical package an hour ago. Sarah stared at me like she'd never seen me before. You coordinated this. I did. The anniversary dinner, the same restaurant. Seemed appropriate, I interrupted. The place where we started should be the place where we end. She was crying openly now. Tom, please, I made a mistake. We can fix this. I pulled out our prenuptial agreement, the infidelity clause highlighted in yellow. According to this document you signed, adultery voids all your rights to marital property. You'll leave with your personal belongings. That's it. I love you, Tom. I've always loved you. If you'd loved me, you wouldn't have been David Chen for 6 months. Sarah flinched as if I'd slapped her. I stood up and placed money on the table. I'll be staying at a hotel tonight. Divorce papers will be served Monday. Tom, wait. But I was already walking away, leaving her sobbing at the table where we'd once promised to love each other forever. The text from Sarah came at 6:47 a.m. on Saturday. Tom, please, we need to talk. I'm sorry. I love you. I deleted it without responding and went for a run around the hotel fitness center. I'd slept better than I had in weeks. The weight of deception finally lifted from my shoulders. By 9:00 a.m., my phone was buzzing constantly. Sarah's friends from girls' night had clearly heard the news. Jennifer called 3 times before I finally answered. Tom, what the hell happened? Sarah called me, crying hysterically. At midnight, you tell me, Jennifer. You were there when she bragged about the affair. Silence. Then, I didn't know you knew about that. I know about everything. The recording, the hotel, the lies, all of it. Look, I tried to tell her it was wrong. You tried to tell her? You laughed, Jennifer. You all laughed at how easy it was to deceive me. She hung up. Within an hour, Kelly and 2 other friends had blocked my number. Good. I was tired of pretending to like people who saw my marriage as entertainment. Rita called at noon with updates. David spent the night at his brother's place. Linda changed the locks and filed a restraining order. He's been calling Sarah's phone nonstop, but she's not picking up. What about work? Lyda sent copies of everything to HR this morning. David is suspended pending investigation. Apparently, this isn't the first time he's been involved with a subordinate. I felt a grim satisfaction. Both of them were learning that actions have consequences. The divorce papers were served to Sarah's office on Monday morning. Her lawyer called mine within an hour. Your client is being unreasonable, my lawyer David told me over lunch. Sarah wants to negotiate. What's to negotiate? The prenup is clear? He's claiming emotional distress, says she wasn't thinking clearly when she signed it. She seemed to be thinking clearly when she was planning hotel meetings with her lover. David smiled. That's essentially what I told her attorney. The evidence is overwhelming, Tom. She has no leverage. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and logistics. I found a new apartment across town, hired movers, and started separating our financial accounts. Sarah tried to reach me through friends, through work, through anyone who might carry a message. The message was always the same. She was sorry. She wanted to work things out. She'd made a terrible mistake. Too little, too late. The most satisfying moment came 3 weeks after the confrontation. I was at a coffee shop when Linda walked in. She looked different. Stronger somehow. More confident. Tom, she said, approaching my table. I hoped I'd run into you. How are you doing? Better than I expected, she said, sitting down. The divorce is moving quickly. David is desperate to avoid a trial, so he's agreeing to everything my lawyer demands. And the kids? They're resilient. They know Daddy moved out because he made bad choices. They don't need to know the detail. I admired her strength. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Don't be. You gave me the truth. That's more than anyone else did. She paused. Have you heard from Sarah? She's been trying to contact me. I'm not interested in talking. Good. They don't deserve second chances.
We talked for another hour. Linda was going back to school, pursuing the nursing degree she'd abandoned when the kids were born. She seemed genuinely excited about her future. I should thank you, she said as we prepared to leave. I feel like I'm finally free to be myself again. I understood the feeling. The final court date was set for a Tuesday morning in May. Sarah looked different, thinner, older, wearing a conservative suit that couldn't hide the stress of the past 2 months. She tried to make eye contact with me across the courtroom, but I kept my focus on the judge. The proceedings were swift. Our prenup was upheld, the evidence of adultery was accepted without challenge, and the divorce was granted with prejudice. Sarah received no spousal support, no claim to our house, no access to our savings. She left with her personal belongings and half of our credit card debt. I'm sorry, she whispered to me as we left the courthouse. I'm so sorry, Tom. I looked at her. For a long moment, this woman who'd shared my bed for 10 years, who'd promised to love and honor me, who'd laughed at my trust with her friends.
I know you are, I said, but sorry doesn't change anything. It was the last time we spoke. 6 months later, I sat in my new apartment, reading a text from Sarah. Tom, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm struggling. I lost my job, I can't afford my rent. Could you please help me? I know I don't deserve it, but I'm desperate. I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 12 years, wanted to respond. But the larger part of me, the part that had been forged in betrayal and tempered by months of calculated revenge, felt nothing but cold indifference.
I deleted the message and poured myself a glass of wine.
My new life was smaller but more honest. The apartment was downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a city skyline view. I'd furnished it with clean, modern pieces that bore no resemblance to the traditional home I'd shared with Sarah. Work had become my refuge. The Peterson account had expanded into a multi-year contract. My colleagues had been supportive during the divorce, especially after word got around about what Sarah had done. I'd started dating again, cautiously. A few coffee dates, a couple of dinners, nothing serious. I found myself hyper-vigilant about inconsistencies in stories, about phones being turned face down, about last-minute plan changes. The ability to trust completely had been permanently damaged, but I was learning to live with that. Linda and I had become unlikely friends. She'd graduated from nursing school and was working at the children's hospital. Her kids were thriving, and she'd started dating a divorced teacher from their school. We met for coffee once a month, two survivors checking in on each other's progress. "You look good," she told me during our most recent meeting. "Relaxed." "I feel good," I admitted. "Different, but good." "Any regrets about how we handled it?" I considered the question. About the method? No. They deserved to face consequences. About the marriage ending? Sometimes. But not about protecting myself. She nodded. I used to feel guilty about destroying David's career. Then I remembered how many nights I spent wondering if I was crazy. He chose to risk everything for an affair. I just made sure he lost it. David had been terminated and was working at a smaller firm for half his previous salary. Word had spread through the industry about his inappropriate conduct. He'd tried to reach out to me once, claiming Sarah had seduced him. Had ignored it. Grown men make their own choices. Sarah had fared worse. Her friends from girls' night had distanced themselves from her. She'd been fired after the divorce proceedings became public. Apparently, her affair with David had violated company policy. Last I'd heard, she was working retail and living in a studio apartment. Jennifer had mentioned that Sarah was seeing a therapist and had joined some kind of support group. "She asks about you," Jennifer had said. "She wonders if you're happy." "Tell her I'm fine," I'd replied, "and tell her to stop asking." The truth was more complicated than fine. I was free, financially secure, and professionally successful. I had good friends, interesting work, and respect from people who mattered. But I was also changed in ways that weren't entirely positive. I'd become harder, more calculating, less willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. The part of me that had been capable of complete trust and unconditional love had been surgically removed. Sometimes I wondered if that made me a lesser person. Other times I thought it made me a more honest one. The recording from that first night was still on my phone, filed away in a folder I rarely opened. I'd thought about deleting it many times, but something always stopped me. Tonight, finally, I deleted it. I was sitting on my balcony, looking out over the city lights, when my phone buzzed with another text from Sarah. "I know you won't respond, but I want you to know that I understand why you did what you did. I deserved it. I hope you find happiness. I hope you find someone who deserves your love."
I read it twice, then deleted it like all the others, but this time I felt something I hadn't experienced in months when it came to Sarah: closure.
Not forgiveness for what she'd done, that would never be possible, but acceptance that it was over, that I'd moved beyond the orbit of their betrayal. The next morning, I realized I hadn't thought about Sarah or David in over a week. My life had finally moved beyond what they'd done to me, or what I'd done in response. I was no longer defined by their betrayal or my revenge. I was simply a man who'd learned that some betrayals are unforgivable, that protecting yourself sometimes requires ruthless action, and that choosing yourself over a relationship built on lies was the only path to genuine peace. I had my freedom and dignity. I'd learned what I was capable of when pushed to my limits, and I'd discovered that rebuilding from the ashes of betrayal, while painful, could lead to a life that was entirely my own. The final image was me alone on my balcony, no longer lonely, having refused to be anyone's fool, finding strength in the knowledge that I controlled my own destiny. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.